Welcome here to TalkFCB and welcome back to the channel here today, guys, where of course we are going to be celebrating that incredible victory over Real Sociedad. Barça 4, Sociedad 1 last night. Ansu Fati, Lewandowski and Dembélé all on the score sheet. We're going to be talking a lot about that game, but we're also going to have plenty of transfer news too. That of course is going to be a massive topic now, again coming towards the end of the transfer window. Incomings and outgoings discussed today. It is all happening, so come on and let's do it. But if we do indeed look back on yesterday's performance, and we have to start with what was one of the very special moments from the game, and of course we have to talk about Ansu Fati, because coming off the bench in the way that he did, the way that he drastically changed, not just in terms of the assists, in terms of the goals, but the whole feel of the game. I think every time that Ansu received the ball, he was positive. He looked forward, he tried to beat his man. He was looking to make something happen, and you need that. It's no good all the time playing the safe option. I think that's something that others as well can learn from. Ansu had a really positive mindset, and you could see that the confidence was flowing through him, especially as the game went on. And I think it's incredible to see, because I do think here Javi has been very cautious with Ansu Fati, not just physically in terms of not wanting to rush him, we don't want him to run into any injury problems, but I think mentally too. It is interesting to see how the sort of expectations and the hype around Ansu, until recently at least, it had kind of died down. He didn't have the same kind of spotlight on him, and I think that's a good thing, because if he can continue here to develop and grow without all of that weight on his shoulders, we know all about the number 10 shirt, we know about those expectations, but I think last night, to come on in the way that he did, to show the quality that we know that he has, we know what he can do, and we just want to see it continue. We just want to see him out there playing his football, being relaxed about his game, and I think that's the key as well right now. I think Ansu, you saw him come on yesterday, he's enjoying every second of it. He is enjoying being out there, being involved in this team, finally having these opportunities and these moments again, and nobody deserves it more. What he has gone through, what he's had to sacrifice really to get here, please let it continue. But what is very interesting to sort of observe from yesterday's performance is those individual moments, those individual pieces of brilliance and magic that really won us the game in the end. Because in the first half, it was anybody's. It could have gone the way of Sociedad, it could have gone the way of Barça. It was a very, very tight game. But in that second half, individuals really did decide the game, whether it was Ansu, whether it was Robert Lewandowski and the goals that he scored brilliantly. Dembele's goal was fantastic as well, and Rafinha had a really phenomenal impact off the bench. And I think, look, on the one hand, it is fantastic that finally now at Barca, heading into a season like this, we've got players who can come on, who can change games, who have world-class quality that means they can almost win games on their own. There was times last season when we never had that, when we had no player capable of just drastically changing and altering the course of a game. But there is one thing, sort of one side of caution that I would have to put out there. You can't rely on that forever. We can't say here that because now we've got these attacking players, because we've got depth in our squad, you can just rely on that individual magic to bail you out. Because I think in order to have the kind of season that we want, in order to reach the kind of heights that we want, we will need to see a more organised Barca. We will need to see a more structured team throughout the season to find that consistency. This is a good start, and that was an important win. But I am still, of course, and we all should, look for more. Because I think especially yesterday, when you're looking at the system that we saw from Barca in the first half for me against Real Sociedad, almost similarly to what we saw against Rayo at times, it did look a bit dysfunctional. It did look a bit disorganised, and almost as though players were sort of looking at each other thinking, okay, where am I supposed to be? What sort of position should I be taking up? Am I in the right place? And at times, we weren't. And Sociedad cut through us. Ter Stegen again had to make some really, really key saves. And when we're looking at the similarities and the differences between the system that we saw against Rayo and the one we did against Real Sociedad, they are kind of different. And I think already early on in the season here, Javi is still looking for his best team, and not only his best team, but his best system too, because obviously yesterday, I think the fullbacks, they were much higher. Balde was almost playing as a wing-back there. Now, was Araujo supposed to be part of a back three? Was Dembélé supposed to help him out? But you can see there that Dembélé was one of the most advanced players. So Sociedad were getting down that side. The midfield was a lot closer together. You had Ferran Torres in behind Lewandowski, and it it was a very different setup. And of course, guys, it's nice to be flexible. Throughout the season, we want to have the opportunity to change system, to do different things, to operate in different areas. But I do think here, as the transfer window comes to an end, as we really then get into the season, for me, Xavi's going to need to find a sort of structure. He's going to need to find a sort of fixed system that primarily we're going to base everything around, that we can actually look to and say, okay, that's the formula. Because I think over time here, these players, they need to understand their roles. They need to know every single game, in every moment, where they've got to be. And I just think across these first two games, it's still a case here of Xavi figuring things out. He obviously hasn't got all the players that he wants yet. We still haven't got everybody registered. And I think when we do, we'll start to see things settle down then. We will start to see games that follow more of a pattern, more consistency, and that is what we will need as the season goes on. But make no mistake at all, guys, absolutely no doubt about it. This here, it was a massive win and what we needed in that moment. But speaking indeed now about the transfer window, and that's the whole point here, guys, is that Xavi still wants to add. He still has players there that he's looking at and thinking, okay, I need somebody in that area. And I think these are going to be massive final days here, both in terms of departures and also those players coming in just here to complete the squad that we have at Barca. Now, of course, our priority right now, it remains registering Jules Kounde. That is absolutely huge that we need to do that. Nice to see him yesterday posting a congratulatory message on Instagram last night. Nice to see him remaining there in good spirits, even though I'm sure that he will be disappointed, frustrated that he hasn't yet been involved at Barca this season, but I'm sure that he will play in the friendly on Wednesday, and surely, hopefully, we will get him registered in time for this weekend's game against Real Sociedad. We need some departures to happen in order to make that possible. And speaking indeed about those very departures, we start there with Aubameyang. Chelsea right now, as we know, firmly interested, reportedly there. They've got a €27 million bid on the table. That could come in the form there of 22 million fixed plus a potential 5 million in variables. And this deal, it does seem to be getting closer. You know, in an ideal world, we know that Xavi wouldn't let Aubameyang go, that he would like to have him as cover, as backup this season. And I'm sure that Aubameyang wouldn't really mind staying at the club himself, but I think the club feel as though they can't refuse this kind of money. They can't turn down that sort of transfer fee, removing Aubameyang's wages from our wage bill, which would be key there for Jules Kounde. And I think it is worth mentioning as well that Aubameyang would earn more money at Chelsea. So at the very minimum there, he's going to get himself a better deal. And especially at 33, it's his last big contract. And it seems as though all parties here could get something out of this deal if it is to go through. Now, Memphis is another one, of course, that is very, very close. These are deals that are on the verge of happening but haven't quite gone through yet. Now he's very close to joining up with Juventus, as we know, and there is a feeling that once they go through, Memphis and Aubameyang, them both leaving, would be enough there to then be able to register Jules Kounde and also significantly have a little bit of room to spare as well, especially when we're talking about incomings, as we're going to do in a moment. There is also the topic of Samuel Umtiti. He is somebody right now who is very close again to leaving the club. Let's see if this one indeed goes through. He's going to be joining Lecce on a loan deal until the end of the season. But the thing about this loan deal is Barca are going to pay all of his wages. We are going to pay every single euro of what Umtiti earns. And a lot of people are saying, well, what is the point then? What is the point in this loan deal if we're paying him all of his wages anyway? But one part of this deal is that depending on if and when Umtiti can play, Barca will have the chance to earn certain bonuses directly related there to appearances, so we'll make something out of the deal if he plays. And I just think the problem again for the club was nobody wanted to take a chance on Umtiti. Nobody really wanted to take a leap of faith and take the risk in signing him, and it basically meant here that the club had to take the decision to let him go like this, almost to send him out on loan, yes, paying his wages, but if he can play, that I think the club feel as though Umtiti can show the world that he can still be a footballer, that he can still function as a footballer, and then maybe in the future, if we're really lucky, we could offload him on a better deal for us with more clubs willing to take him on. So that one there is one that is also very, very close. You've also got Serginho Dest, of course. Speaking of defenders, he's somebody else who hasn't been involved yet this season, omitted from the first 2 squad lists under Javi, and it's a clear message from both Javi and the club that they want Dest to leave the club this summer, something that hasn't quite happened or even been close to materialising just yet. And I do think it was, to be honest, guys, a risk to leave Dest out of the squad, to actually take the risk there and say, okay, all we've got really is Sergio Roberto or Araujo in that right back position, and yeah, we got the job done, but I don't want to keep doing this. We have to make sure that we get a right back in. If we're going to leave Dest out, if we're going to cast him away and send out a message, you've got to bring someone in. You have to sign a right back, and we cannot hang around in doing that right now. And speaking of the full back positions, indeed, first of all, Juan Foyth. He is, of course, the right back that Barca intensely linked with right now, but it doesn't seem as though these negotiations with Villarreal that they're going to be easy, or even if they're going to be possible, because yesterday, when Villarreal's vice president was asked about the possibility that Foyth could leave to join Barca, he said the following. He said, Villarreal are not prepared to do that. We're not prepared for that at all. He said they are going to have to pay the release clause with La Liga if they want him, because we are not open to negotiating for any player, especially not Juan Foyth. So that was a clear message there from Villarreal. They want the full 42 million euro release clause for him, and that's not an amount Barca are going to pay. And let's be honest, guys, that is not an amount that Barca should be paying to sign Foyth. But let's just wait and see here if in these final days anything changes there on the side of Villarreal. And of course, Barca will have alternatives there they may need to call on in that right back area. But it's not just about right back too, because we also have to talk about the left back position. I want to bring you an update here on Marcos Alonso and again potential alternatives, because is Alonso still coming? Is this a deal that is still on the verge of happening? Because we all thought we all thought Alonso was gonna sign for Barca, but now we seem to be moving away from that. There seems to be a lot of talk in the media that Alonso will not end up joining Barca, especially there with the emergence of Balde. I think he really helped his cause yesterday in the performance that he put in, and coupled now with the difficulties we're having with registering players, FFP, getting the wage allowance that we need, and given Alonso was set to earn a pretty decent salary, Barca are looking elsewhere right now. For me, that is good news. And Javi Galan, he is the man that we are hearing in the Catalan media right now, emerging once again as our primary left-back target. If we do want to go into the market, he's somebody there that Xavi is known to be a big fan of. Mattia Almani as well really likes Javi Galan. He started the season well at Celta Vigo. I watched him recently against Real Madrid, and I thought he played really well. Even though Celta Vigo lost that game against Real, Galan certainly did himself plenty of favours in the performance that he put in that game. And what it is being said right now is that he would earn half of what Marcos Alonso would have earned at the club. 2 million net is reportedly going to be the wage of Javi Galan. That would not be a problem at all there. And the only thing that Barca would need to figure out therefore is the transfer fee. Galan has currently a release clause of 18 million euros. Barca don't really want to go and meet that. They're going to offer at this stage maybe half of that fee. There's talk about a 9 million euro bid. There may be room to work our way up to 12 million total. But at this stage of the window, when you're going for players, and of course the clubs will have to then replace them, it's not going to be easy to negotiate at this stage. So let's wait and see now whether Galan is going to be a serious option for Barca. But there is plenty of work to be done, and that's what I mean here, guys. In these final days now of the transfer window, it has been for us a crazy window anyway. So much has happened throughout this summer, but I still do believe, even as the days go on and even as that clock ticks down, there's still plenty more to come. There is still going to be a lot happening here, so make sure you are staying tuned to all of the latest news. And I would like your thoughts, firstly, on what we saw against Real Sociedad on Sunday, the performances there of several of our key players sparking our season into life. Do let me know all of that, and of course as well on the transfers. What do you make of the possible incomings, possible outgoings, and what you're expecting from these final days of the window before the transfer deadline? I will see you soon, of course. Whenever anything big happens, all of the latest, it will be here for you guys. Thank you today for watching and for getting involved and for all of your support. I will see you soon. But until next time, as always, Visca El Barça.